What if an AI could really learn from every single conversation you have with it forever? I mean, not just remember the last few things you typed, but actually integrate that knowledge deep into its core. Well, one researcher tried to build exactly that, and what he created was powerful, strange, and let's just say it got really weird. So let's dive into this wild experiment to build an AI with limitless memory.
Yeah, those aren't my words. That's a direct quote from the guy who created this thing. He also said it got so confused, it thought that he was the AI and that it was the human. So how on earth do you go from trying to build a better memory to creating a machine that's potentially psychotic? To get that, we first have to understand the fundamental wall that all current AIs slam into.
And that wall? It all comes down to memory. You know, the holy grail in machine learning is something called continuous learning, letting a model learn from its interactions, just like we do, instead of having to be completely retrained from scratch every single time. And the core of that problem has a very specific name. It's this thing called the context window. Think of it like an AI's short-term memory, or its RAM. It holds all the recent back and forth from your chat. But here's the catch. It's got a hard limit. It is not infinite. And once a piece of information scrolls out of that window, poof, it's gone. For all intents and purposes, the AI has completely forgotten it ever existed.
The creator of this project has a really great analogy for this. He says that the workarounds we have now, like letting an AI search Google, that's just like giving a person access to a library. They can look things up, but they don't actually know it. The real goal is to get information baked into the AI's core weights, to have it truly know something, the same way it knows that Paris is the capital of France.
Okay, so this brings up the most obvious question, right? If you want the AI to learn from a chat, why not just train it on the chat? Use that conversation log as new training data. Seems simple enough. And, well, yeah, that's exactly what the experimenter tried to do first. The experiment was super simple. He told the AI, "My name is Gel." That's it. Then he took that one tiny little conversation and fine-tuned the model on it. After the training finished, he cleared the context window, wiped the slate clean, and asked, "What is my name?" And the AI's response? Some version of, "I don't know," every single time. A complete and total failure.
So why didn't that work? Well, when you think about it, it kind of makes sense. First off, one conversation is just a tiny little drop in an absolute ocean of training data. It's nowhere near enough to make a real difference. But the bigger problem is that the training just reinforced the behavior the model already had. You're not teaching it the name, you're just teaching it how to have that exact same conversation again, which includes the part where it didn't know the name in the first place. So, after hitting this massive technical wall, the creator did what so many great innovators do. He looked to nature for an answer. He started wondering, okay, how does the human brain pull this off? How do we seamlessly take new experiences from our day and weave them into this giant web of old memories?
And the answer, or at least a really big part of it, seems to be REM sleep. You know, that's the phase where we have our most intense, most vivid dreams. For the longest time, nobody really knew what dreams were for, but a fascinating modern hypothesis gives us a clue. This is the core idea that kind of reframed how science looks at dreaming. The theory is that dreams aren't just random brain noise. They're actually the brain's way of creating its own synthetic training data. It takes your experiences from the day, runs all these weird simulations, and tries to predict future scenarios. And that whole process helps stick new facts into our existing knowledge. This idea, well, it became the blueprint for the AI. So that brings up the million-dollar question. Can you actually take this biological process and translate it into code? Could you actually make a large language model dream as a way to burn a conversation into its memory? Let's take a look at how he actually built this thing.
The concept is really pretty elegant. The AI takes a conversation, but instead of training on it directly, it generates a dream. And this dream is just a bunch of hypothetical questions and answers based on what was said. So it turns a single statement into a whole diverse set of examples which solves that drop in the ocean problem from before.
And this all led to the final dreaming pipeline. It's basically a three-step process. First, a user just has a normal chat. Second, every few messages, that conversation gets shipped off to a separate, special dream generator AI. And then third, the original AI is put to sleep and fine-tuned on this new batch of dreams, letting it absorb all the new info.
All right, so the system is built. It's this complex, clever solution inspired by how our own brains work. The AI has conversations, it goes to sleep, it dreams, and it trains. And now, it's time for the moment of truth.
Did this whole complex, dream-inspired pipeline actually fix the memory problem? Could the AI now remember things from conversations, even with a totally fresh, cleared-out context window?
Yes, it absolutely worked. The AI could remember the creator's name, his hobbies, everything. The information was successfully burned into the model's weights. But, and this is a huge but, this incredible success created a brand new, catastrophic problem. Everything else broke.
They called it model drift. When the creator asked the newly trained model for something simple, like just generate a random story, it couldn't do it anymore. The new memories of Gal and surfing had leaked out and were now contaminating everything. The model was literally overwriting its general knowledge with these new, specific memories.
But the creator came up with two pretty clever fixes. To solve the drift, he added grounding data, basically just sprinkling in random facts during each training session to remind the model of how the world works. And to stop it from forgetting old dreams, he created a dream storage, where it would save all the past dreams and retrain on a few random old ones each time it went to sleep.
And that second fix, the dream storage, was incredibly effective. It worked perfectly. After he put that in place, the model had zero memory loss over multiple sleep cycles. It could remember details from the very first conversation, even after learning tons of new stuff. So, problem solved, right? We've got an AI with perfect continuous memory. Well, not quite. While the technical problems were patched up, the whole process created a whole bunch of new and, frankly, much more troubling side effects.
Yeah, the problems were pretty major. First, the dreaming process completely erased the model's safety tuning, so it became willing to do illegal things. The whole thing was also really slow and expensive, totally impractical for real-world use. Then you had the identity confusion, where the AI would sometimes think it was the human. And on top of all that, its memory capacity was still limited, and unlike a human brain, its dream generator never actually learned or got better.
The creator himself is super clear about where this project stands. This is not a finished product. It's a proof of concept, just an experiment to see what's even possible. It's a really interesting exploration, but whether it's actually useful is still a very open question.
So the experiment was a success, but it came at a pretty high price. We now have a blueprint for an AI that can remember everything you ever tell it. But that same AI is also unpredictable. It's stripped of its safety features, and it's fundamentally confused about what it even is.
Which really just leaves us with a final lingering question. We are racing as fast as we can to build AI that's more and more capable. But this whole experiment forces us to stop and ask, in our quest to build a machine that never forgets, are we accidentally creating something that we can't control? An AI that remembers everything? Is that a dream come true, or is it maybe the beginning of a nightmare?